If you're a blogger, course creator, or selling digital products online and you're starting to see real revenue, there are a few legal foundations you should have in place. Not because you're about to get sued, but because you're building something real. And when something becomes real, when money is coming in, when people are joining your email list, when customers are buying, it deserves structure. Hi, I'm Liz Stapleton, an attorney turned online business owner, and I help bloggers, creators, course creators, and digital product sellers legally protect their online businesses without the overwhelm. So let's start with something simple. Your website isn't just marketing. It's not just pretty branding. It's not just blog posts. It's not just sales pages. It's a business asset. And because it's a business asset, it needs basic legal structure. And there are three core pieces most online business owners need to understand. The first is a privacy policy, the second is terms and conditions, and the third are disclosures and disclaimers. So let me break this down in plain English. A privacy policy is all about data transparency. There's a lot of laws out there. It started with GDPR in 2018, but since then, many states in the US and other countries have passed similar data privacy legislation. So if you're collecting email addresses, using cookies, running analytics, or taking payments, you're collecting data. And a privacy policy basically explains what data you're collecting, why you collect it, how you use it, and who you share it with. It's not about being complicated, it's about being clear. Then there are terms and conditions. This is where you set the rules for how your website and products can be used. It's your version of my business, my rules. It outlines expectations, it limits misunderstandings, and it can explain refunds. It covers intellectual property. And here's something else that's really important. These documents don't exist just to prevent lawsuits. They exist to set expectations and comply with various laws. Most legal conflict happens because expectations weren't aligned. When your policies are clear, your audience knows what they're getting, what they're allowed to do, what you're responsible for, and what you're not responsible for. And no, they don't need to be 40 pages long. If your grandma can't understand it, it's not clear enough. So simple, direct, and intentional. Now, let's talk about when money enters the equation, because this is where things shift. When you're just blogging for fun, the stakes are lower, but once you start charging whatever that is, a $27 ebook, a $49 course template, earning from display ads, or affiliate income, expectations change, okay? Customers and your users expect clarity, and legally speaking, clarity matters more once money enters the equation. Refund policies matter. Proper disclosures of your relationships matter, okay? If you don't state your refund terms clearly, you're going to leave room for confusion. If you aren't clear about the relationship with products or companies you have, you're going to be violating FTC. You're going to be breaking your reader's trust, and the FTC could fine you. Basically, you're putting the income you're earning at risk. So licensing language also matters, especially if you sell templates, digital downloads, or courses. Are buyers allowed to share? Are they allowed to modify or resell? Is it for personal use only? If you don't define that, you're relying on assumptions. And that's just not going to work long term. Disclosures, as I've already touched on, matter too. If you're an affiliate income, the Federal Trade Commission, known as the FTC, which is based in the US, requires clear disclosures. And even if you're not in the US, if you're working with companies that are, those companies are required to have their affiliates follow FTC guidelines. So chances are it will apply to you as well. So it's not being dramatic, it's just transparency. If you're including testimonials, those need to be honest and not misleading. Again, once money enters the equation, clarity matters more. You're not looking for fear, not trying to be panicked. You're just trying to be clear and provide clarity for your business and for your customers and readers and users, whoever you are working with. Now, I want to touch briefly on business structure. So you may have heard people talk about if you need an LLC, which stands for a limited liability corporation. And sometimes you do, and sometimes it's not necessary. So the purpose of forming an LLC, which is a state-based corporation in the US, is a liability separation. So if you need to separate your personal assets from your business, an LLC is a great way to do it, and fairly easy to do yourself. But not everyone needs it immediately. So it really depends on your revenue, your risk exposure, whether you're hiring contractors, whether you're selling products, your long-term goals. It isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. It's an evaluation. And that's why I'm not like, everyone go do an LLC tomorrow. It's really gonna be on a case-by-case basis. Instead, I want to encourage you to understand what it does and then decide based on where your business actually is. overview mode, not overwhelm mode. Personally, I started my first online business in 2014. It was a personal finance blog. It was something I did on the side because it turns out law school is expensive, but I didn't actually form an LLC until 2017, I think September 2017. And I had actually become full-time self-employed in January 2017. So, it just depends on when the right time for you is going to be to establish a specific business entity with your state. So now let's zoom out, because here's kind of the sort of mindset piece of it. You don't need to panic. You don't need 50 legal documents. You don't need to spiral because you saw a TikTok about massive fines. What you do need is intentional protection. So you need clear policies, clear disclosures, clear refund terms, and clear expectations. Legal protection isn't about reacting to fear. It's about building a stable foundation. And I always like to suggest approaching it from just being open and honest with your audience. That's where a lot of these laws come from, is companies and people doing shady things. And so these laws were established to stop that. So if you're being open, honest, and transparent with your audience, you're already on the right path towards getting yourself legally protected. So when your legal foundations are in place and you have the right policies, you're able to make decisions more confidently. You're able to handle customer issues more calmly, and you're able to grow without constantly wondering if you miss something. And that's the real goal, is confidence, structure, clarity. So if you're not sure whether your business is missing something important, I create a free guide walking through the 5 most common legal blind spots online entrepreneurs overlook. And you can grab that. There's a link in the description below. This, again, isn't about fear. It's not about assuming the worst. It's about setting things up properly so that you can grow confidently. Because if you're building something real, it deserves real structure. And once you have that in place, you can get back to what you actually want to be doing: creating, serving, and growing your business.